The Rapala original floating minnow F-11 has earned a reputation as one of the most iconic lures in fishing, and when it comes to bass, it remains a powerful choice. What sets it apart is its simplicity. At just 4 and 3/8 inches long and weighing only 3/16 of an ounce, its lightweight balsa construction produces that legendary wounded minnow action, a subtle wobble and roll that looks irresistibly natural in the water. Bass are opportunistic predators, and the F-11's lifelike movements play directly into their instincts. To get the most out of this classic, it's important to understand the right conditions, techniques, and adjustments that bring it to life. Because of its light design, the F-11 works best with spinning gear. A medium light rod paired with a quality reel gives you the control and accuracy needed to put the lure where bass are hiding. Monofilament in the 6 to 10 pound range is ideal since its buoyancy enhances the lure's natural action, though fluorocarbon can be used to help the bait run slightly deeper. With heavier line or braid, the lure can feel overpowered, and much of its finesse is lost. The key is balance, gear that highlights the lure's strengths rather than masking them. The F-11 is at its best in calm, clear to lightly stained water where bass rely on sight to feed. Early mornings, evenings, or overcast days provide ideal conditions, particularly in shallow zones with vegetation, riprap, and submerged wood. This lure excels when worked above weed tops or along shoreline cover where bass wait to ambush. Its floating nature makes it a perfect choice when you want to hover just above structure without constantly snagging. Retrieving the F-11 can be done in several ways, each with its own appeal. One of the most effective is the twitch and pause method. Cast it near cover, let the ripples settle, then give it a subtle twitch or two before pausing. The lure darts and wobbles, then rises back to the surface like a dying baitfish, often triggering explosive topwater strikes. A steady, slow retrieve also works well, especially when bass are cruising open water in search of easy meals. For a more aggressive presentation, snap the rod tips sharply and then pause, much like a jerkbait. The sudden darting motion followed by the quick rise is difficult for hungry bass to ignore. If you need to reach fish holding a little deeper, a split shot placed a foot or two ahead of the lure will bring it down while preserving its famous action. Seasonality also plays a role in how the F-11 should be fished. In spring, when bass are shallow and feeding near spawning flats, a twitch and pause retrieve can be very useful. During the heat of summer, the best opportunities often come at dawn and dusk when bass patrol the shallows. In fall, as fish key in on schools of baitfish, a steady retrieve can be just the ticket. Even in winter, when bass are sluggish, the F-11 can produce if worked with patience, using long pauses and gentle twitches to tempt the reluctant fish. Color choice is another factor in this lure's effectiveness. Natural finishes like silver, gold, and perch mimic common forage species that are staples in most tackle boxes. In stained or darker water, brighter patterns like fire tiger add extra visibility. Because of its smaller profile, the F-11 excels when bass are feeding on smaller baitfish, making color matching to the local forage especially effective. Of course, the lure has its quirks. Its lightweight body makes long casting very difficult, especially in windy conditions, and its quick rise on the pause doesn't always suit situations where bass prefer a suspending presentation. Still, these quirks are part of its charm, and many anglers see them not as flaws but as reminders of the lure's character. After all, the F-11 is hand-tuned, wired through the body, and finished with sharp VMC hooks, details that speak to its durability and reliability. Many anglers have stories of fishing the same lure for years, catching bass after bass season after season. In the end, the Rapala original floating minnow F-11 is less about forcing action and more about letting its simplicity shine. It doesn't have the long cast systems or flashy finishes of a modern jerkbait, but it doesn't need them. It reminds us that sometimes most effective bass lures are just the ones that imitate something bass know instinctively, the easy meal of a struggling minnow. For anglers willing to master its subtleties, the F-11 is not just a lure, but a timeless tool, proving that in fishing, as in life, the simplest tools often work best. Take care, my friends.